60. Oh, yeah, one more. We have our Alder wants to join. Second. You can find this. Come on. I'm checking maybe the participants to try to have the other ones. No. But if you click them,
I'm gonna stop sharing.
there we go.
Go back this way and I'll start that again.
All right, we're gonna call to order the Tax Increment District Joint Review Board meeting for Tuesday, August 12th. 2025, starting at 11 a.m. We'll do roll call. Dan Teeter from Brown County.
Yep.
Gail Paczynski. At this point, excused or absent, I guess, Adam.
Here.
Ross. And Diana Ellen Becker present at this point. So we have 3. We can move forward. Approval of the agenda for August 12th.
I'll move approval.
I can second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from the June 10th, 2025 meeting.
And also move approval on this.
I'll second.
And then Dan, second. So motion by Adam, second by Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes. Moving on to regular business. Consideration with possible action to appoint the Joint Review Board public member and chairperson and review the responsibilities of the Joint Review Board. Should we consider, should we continue this, or do you think we should hold this till later in the meeting? Or do we just appoint Brent again without him being here? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
I think you could appoint him. I would recommend appointing both the public member and the chairperson, given that there's a new tax increment district creation on the agenda today.
Okay. All right, so as the chair, I am going to nominate Brent Weicker as our public member. Are there any other nominations? I have to ask it again. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Not all in favor of approving Brent Weicker as public member?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. That is approved. We'll move on to the chairperson. Any nominations for chairperson?
Is there a current chairperson? Chairperson.
All right, we have one nomination, Diana Ellen Becker for chairperson. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Then I'll say it again one more time. Any other nominations? If not, Diana Ellen Becker as chairperson, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's approved. And then the last part of item number 1 is also review the responsibilities of the Joint Review Board. And then Harry said you would handle that one?
Yep. Yeah, I can take that. So just at a high level here, the Joint Review Board is a board that's established by statute, and it's a board that all municipalities across the state have to convene when it comes to creating or amending a tax increment district. And the purpose here of the Joint Review Board is that really this is a participation amongst all the overlapping taxing entities to create new development and new growth that has that shared benefit at the time that the district closes. But the important thing is to make sure that that but-for test that is required under statute is really met. And so the thinking here is that but for the tax increment district being created, the projects that are contemplated to be constructed wouldn't occur at all, wouldn't occur at the same level, or wouldn't occur in the same time frame. So really what the Joint Review Board's purpose is to really vet that but-for test. And so this is a multi-step process. The creating or amending a tax increment district starts with the informational meeting to the Joint Review Board, where the city proposes a project, gets some initial feedback on it from the overlapping entities. From there, it goes through the full approval process at the city through RDA and then through council. And then it comes back to the Joint Review Board, and the Joint Review Board has that final say as to whether the district can or cannot be created, really looking at that but-for test and whether the city has proven out that this support through tax increment financing is really necessary to make that project happen.
Thank you. Don't know, I guess, do we take a motion on the whole item, consider it possible action? To appoint Brett Waker, Diana as chair, and to review, and to approve the responsibilities of the Joint Review Board. Do you think that's necessary? Take a full motion? I guess I'll take a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Adam, second by Dan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Moving on to item number 2. Consideration with possible action to review the public record, planning documents, and resolutions passed by the Redevelopment Authority and Common Council to adopt a resolution approving the creation of Tax Increment District 30 for the TID 30 US Bank conversion. And let Deputy Director take over, or is it Harry?
Or do you want me to provide a little bit?
Or Rebecca, or, never mind, whoever, what?
You want me to kick it off Rebecca and then Harry can
Sure,
take it from there?
I'll just make it a very high overview because I know that Harry's planning on sharing some slides again, just to remind us of this TID. It did come before the JRB once before on June 10th to fulfill that initial meeting. This is now the second of those regulatory meetings for JRB to consider this particular TID. This again is TID 30, the US Bank conversion, which is located at 425 Pine Street. It's one parcel there. The TID is being requested to help support costs for development incentives for the conversion of that property to mixed use. The bank will remain on the first floor, and 66 market rate rental housing units will be constructed on floors 2 through 7. Since being here at JRB, this TID request has gone through RDA on June 10th, the same day, and then Common Council on June 24th, and both of those bodies have passed resolutions approving the project plan and adopting the resolution. And so, as I mentioned, here we are to again review and consider with JRB. So with that, I will turn it over to Harry. He's providing some slides. And again, we've seen these once before, but just as a reminder for all of you, and then we can take questions afterwards. Harry?
Yeah, so Rebecca gave a good summary there. Not a whole lot to add here. Just as a reminder, this is a in need of rehab or conservation type district, so it does have a 27-year life. This is a single parcel just at US Bank Tower. So if we go to the next slide here, the primary cost here is a $7 million pay-as-you-go developer incentive, and that's per an existing development agreement with Living Downtown LLC. The cash flow for this district doesn't estimate that full $7 million being paid out, so they would have to create more value than we're anticipating for them to get that full amount. And then the only other cost here is that line item 2 for the ongoing planning and admin costs that the city will incur over the life of this district. And this is just giving you an idea of the proposed uses here. So there is a parking structure adjacent to it, and then the rehab of the existing tower. And then the projected incremental valuation here, converting the assessed value guarantee to equalized, we're expecting around 8.4 million of an increase on an equalized basis once this project is completed. And over the life of the district, we're estimating that generating around 4.2 million of incremental collections. And then here's the cash flow. So of that $7 million incentive, if it all plays out how we have modeled, the developer would receive about 3.6 million back. And this district would likely take that full 27-year life to repay that incentive. And then included in your packet and the materials distributed prior to this meeting was the public record. So really what makes that up is the resolutions that both the RDA and the council approved, as well as the minutes from those meetings. And then you just took action on the minutes for your prior initial meeting for these two districts. So that's really what makes up the public record, just showing that all the proper steps under statute have taken place to this point to bring it before you all for the final approval today.
Any questions?
Were there any significant concerns raised in the RDA or Common Council conversations?
And we really didn't. This was a pay-as-you-go incentive as presented, so there wasn't any upfront assistance here. So as long as the developer fulfills their obligations to improve the building, provide the housing units, invest the minimum amount of funds into the project, they would qualify for this pay-go reimbursement. So it was unanimously approved both at RDA and at council.
Thank you.
There are no other questions? I would take a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Dan, second by Adam, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Go down to number 3, consideration with possible action to review the public record, planning documents, and resolutions passed by the redevelopment authority and common council, and adopt a resolution approving the creation of tax incremental district 31 to 31.
And I'll provide a brief overview on this one as well. So TID 31 is our one Astor TID. This one has followed the same progression as far as meetings and approvals as our TID 30. This one is a proposed blighted area district, which is approximately 5.7 or 5.57 acres, excuse me, on the southern portion downtown Green Bay, so along South Adams and East Mason Street. This TID is being proposed to support 2 development projects. One is the development of approximately 125 multifamily unit complex by One Astor Holdings, and then the conversion of Fire Station 1 to a mixed office and retail building. I guess with that, Harry, I'll let you speak to the details of this TID as well.
Sure, yeah. We could go to the next slide. Looks like you covered everything on that one pretty well. Again here, this one feels a lot like TID 30. This is both these projects are supported by a pay-as-you-go developer incentive, so the city isn't putting anything in up front. This is really up to the developers to perform on both projects to receive that increment stream as it's generated over the life of the district. So in total, we're estimating around 5.2 million in pay-as-you-go developer incentives. Go to the next slide. Just giving you an idea of what those incentives are. One Astor Holdings at 4.5 million over the life, and then for the conversion of the fire station, we estimated that at 722,000. Matt or Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that development agreement shook out a little bit differently, where the cap on that incentive is 2.5 million, and the sharing rate is 85%. So just kind of looking at what we're expecting this to value out at, it likely won't hit that full 2.5 million, likely falling far short of it. But if it does go gangbusters and create a lot of additional value, that is a much higher cap than what we're showing being generated by the project.
If that's accurate, the developer had not fully determined the first story use of that fire station conversion project. And so we really just provided some flexibility there. If there was substantial, if they were able to secure a tenant for that first story, there's substantial reinvestment in that first story, then that could potentially generate more value, in which case that they would be eligible for additional pay-go. But still a few details to be determined there. We've still got the timeline in place where they would need to confirm that tenants within the next year or two. and make those improvements. It's just still a little details yet to be determined with the specific views around the first floor.
Awesome, thank you. So just giving you more detail on the location of the two projects. So those two south parcels with the diagonal lines, that's where the apartments are being planned, and then the polka dot on the north is the area of the fire station rehab. Then looking at the projected incremental valuation here, expecting around 20.4 million of total value being added by the district, and that would generate around 9.3 million of incremental collections over the 27-year life. And then looking at the cash flow here, we do show that the cost would likely be recovered by 2044. So this one could be one of those that closes early, depending on what other city costs may be incurred within this district. Right now, we've only included those pay-as-you-go developer incentives. And one thing that I neglected to point out on the TID 30 resolution for the Joint Review Board that is the same in TID 31 is there's a new requirement as a part of Act 12 that changed some things with tax increment districts where the Joint Review Board is actually certifying the final collection year for the district or the expected termination year for each tax increment district at the point of creation. And really, this final year doesn't have any impact on any of the overlapping entities. It's strictly as it pertains to the city. So there's a provision under Act 12 where if a district closes within 75% of its expected life as set by the Joint Review Board, the city can claim a slightly larger levy limit adjustment at the point of that tax increment district closing. And so really, what we have recommended is that all Joint Review Boards choose the last year as the expected termination year under that resolution, because that provides a benefit to the municipality at no impact or no cost to the overlapping entities. So this is just allowing that additional flexibility for the city and providing them a longer runway to close that district early and see the benefit. So within that resolution, it does state that 2053 would be the closure year on this one, even though this cash flow model does show likely closure prior to that date. So if there are questions on that, I'm happy to provide additional details.
Maybe asking you to speculate a little bit, but do we know what the legislative intent was behind that change?
I think the intent was to encourage municipalities to close tax increment districts early. As far as why it was left to the Joint Review Board to choose the final closure year instead of using the final collection year under statute, I guess I don't have good clarity on why the legislature decided to select the final year on that route.
Thank you.
What's the expected closure date for TID 5 that overlaps here?
I believe it's 2026.
We're in our final year of TID 5.
Ever 26, yes. P26. It'll take a few seconds. I can look this up.
In our modeling, Diana, you might have something different, but the last time we discussed this, we had it rolling on for budget year 29. So it'd be value year 1/1/28.
That's December 21st of 2026. So because it's later in the year, it would be really close for DOR purposes, it closes in 27 then, but the mandatory term date is 12/21/26.
Okay. So if it goes through that life, it would be certified for its final collection of the 1/1/27 value. And then the overlapping entities would see the benefit 1/1/28.
Yep, correct. Thanks. All right, are there any other questions? Harry, did you have anything else on these two TIDs?
No, I don't. The only thing on screen right now is giving you a reminder of what the timeline on this one was. So it started back in June, and made its way to you here today.
Right, looking for a motion on creation of TID 31.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Dan, second by Adam, all in favor?
Aye.
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 That passes. Moving on to number 4, consideration with possible action to review and discuss a draft project plan for tax increment District 32, The Pines.
Okay, so TID 32 is being presented for the first time here today. This is a proposed rehabilitation / conservation district that comprises about just over 10.10 acres of property located in the area generally bounded by North Dan's Avenue to the east, Bader Street, to the south, Highland Park to the west, and Morrow Street to the north. See it on the map there, it's being displayed at this time. This district is being created to pay cost of development incentives needed to support an infill development of 41 single-family homes by Broadway Realty LLC. Eligible project costs within the plan include development incentives, property acquisition, site preparation activities, utility and infrastructure improvements, street and streetscape improvements, and administration. And as well, their proposed costs included within a half-mile radius of the proposed boundary of the TID. After we hear more from Harry on this TID, the recommendation is for the JRB to receive and place on file, as again, it is the first presentation of this TID. It will then move on to RDA later today, and then to council September 16th, and then we'll come back to JRB again for that final review, original approval at a date to be determined. So with that, Harry?
Yeah, thank you. We can move on to the next slide here, and just to give you a little bit more background on the pay-as-you-go developer incentive. Again, this is a pay-as-you-go type basis. The city isn't putting any money in upfront. It'll be up to Broadway Realty to create the new value and generate that increment stream for them to receive anything back. But really, this Broadway Realty will be responsible for installing the infrastructure that will make the homes able to be developed. So road, pedestrian, bicycle improvements, the sanitary, storm, and water infrastructure to service the homes, any type of telephone, high-speed cable, or technology infrastructure, natural gas, electric power, kind of the whole gambit to make this area developable. Those costs will be paid by the developer, and they will be able to recover those costs over the life of the district. The proposed project costs here do look a little more lengthy than we saw with 30 and 31. And the reason here is we are including line item 1, which is that pay-as-you-go development incentive that will be incurred directly within the district. And then the city has also looked at what projects within the half-mile boundary of TID 32 could directly benefit the new homes to be constructed. And we have included those here as a line item so that if these projects do move forward and they are shown to have a benefit of the new tax increment district, the city has permission from the Joint Review Board to incur these costs through the incremental revenues of the district. So those are all listed here. We can show a map on the next screen that gives you a little bit more detail. So on the left here, this is the district costs, so directly within the boundaries of the district. So those red lines are showing you where the infrastructure will be installed, primarily the roads and the utilities, and some stormwater ponding there on the north. So those will be supported by the development incentive. And then here on the right are the various street and park improvement projects that could be funded within the half mile of the district boundaries. In total, we are estimating around 11.28 million of value being added on an equalized basis from the construction of those homes. So when we look at the total increment generated by that value over the 27-year life, we are expecting about 5.1 million of incremental collections to the district, so far exceeding that 2 million pay-as-you-go developer incentive. So the city could consider using some of that to fund these other half-mile projects. And then within the cash flow, just not knowing exactly what of those half-mile project costs will be incurred, we've only for now shown that $2 million pay-as-you-go incentive and then the annual city admin costs being paid. So if it plays out exactly that way, we do show this district cash flowing pretty well and closing out by 2040, but an additional 2.7 million could be collected over the remaining life of the district. And then just giving you an update on the timeline here. We are at the initial joint review board meeting right now. From this, it'll go to RDA this afternoon for a public hearing and their consideration on a resolution. From there, it actually doesn't go to council until September 16th, just given the next council meeting was a little too close for the 14-day waiting period between the public hearing and council approval. So September 16th, council consideration, and then we'll come back to this board for a meeting, likely in early October. Given that this council action is expected September 16th, this will go back as a base value of January 1 of 2025. So any improvements that take place this year will be captured as incremental value within TID 32. And then the timing of that JRB meeting, we do need to hold that fairly early in October because there is a filing deadline for this TID of October 31st with the Department of Revenue. And that's everything I had on TID 32. So if there's any questions or discussion, we can do that at this point.
So just out of curiosity, so this is supposed to be 41 single family homes. What kind of size lots and what kind of density are we talking about here?
Smaller lots. This is all going to be, at least at this point, owned by one developer who would intend to lease these out. They're smaller homes. Don't remember off the top of my head how many square feet each home is, but there's a couple different models. They're typically 2-bedroom homes for the most part. We did have to go through, did we go through PUD for this?
Yeah, I was going to ask Matt because the city hasn't adopted the new comp plan, correct?
No, we haven't, not yet.
Okay. So we're still working under this future land use map showing as medium to high density.
We did amend the zoning, I do recall now, to R2. I believe was the zoning that worked. The future land use map, I don't think we had to amend the comp plan to meet these density requirements for this because it is a 10-acre parcel roughly with smaller lots. So we met that density.
Okay.
So if I caught that correctly, these wouldn't be owner occupied, they would be leased homes, is that?
Yes, they could in the future be sold off individually, but at least initially these would be rental.
Is that part of some kind of an affordable housing initiative, or is it just?
These would be market rate.
It looks like from the half-mile map, there's a number of street improvements and then the park improvements that are within that half-mile boundary. Some of them pushing further on the boundary in the south. Can you tell me more about how these meet that mud floor in terms of being necessary for the development to occur?
Sure, and maybe Harry could do a little bit better job than I could, but state statute does allow for the city to invest in its public infrastructure with TIF dollars within that half-mile boundary. as long as those improvements are, supportive of that TIF district. And so, what we did here was we, reached out to our departments of Public Works and Parks to identify any potential projects we might have in the future that, would qualify. And these are the projects that they came back with as recommending for potential, investments, because they just saw this coming up in the future. It's within that half mile. I don't know, Harry, do you have any additional information?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is there's two findings that need to be met to incur these half-mile cost. One, the city does need the permission of the joint review board to incur the specific cost. And then two, there does need to be a shown benefit to the district for these projects being completed.
So where these are optional projects that would occur if there was additional funding. Sounds like the district and the construction of these homes would move forward regardless of whether the park improvements and the street improvements occur. But those aren't a necessary requirement in order for the development of the TID to move forward. They would be occurred later as an addition.
Yes, that's accurate. So no, the other projects that were listed that are shown here, in blue aren't a requirement for the development to proceed necessarily, but they would benefit the district. This is a rehab and conservation district, and so, improving an existing infrastructure within the district makes, or near the district, is a benefit. So it's helpful.
I do see the value and utility of them. I'm not seeing how it meets the but for in terms of these expenses being required to either move the district.
There wouldn't be a but for those improvements. It's for the but for would come into place for the development agreements. The TIF incentive being provided to the developer within the district. There isn't, unless Harry correct me if I'm wrong, there's not a but for test for the other public improvements outside of the district within the half mile.
To some degree, there is. I would argue that most any TIF funding does need to meet some kind of but-for test. The half-mile cost really, there needs to be a benefit, a direct benefit to the district to incur these.
When we worked with these similar expenses with other municipalities, they were looking at meeting that but for. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. It's just others have.
Yeah, I guess my suggestion or recommendation here would be that the staff, you just reassess the necessity and or the scope of the projects within that half mile. I mean, really, if we're talking about sanitary or water line improvements or something that have a direct connection to the proposed project location, I think that makes a lot of sense. If there are roads that don't necessarily connect and or aren't more of a collector or arterial facility, it's going to be a much bigger stretch to make that but for connection.
What we can do is, so this obviously has to come back, right, for when we're meeting, so we can have some conversations with Public Works, Parks, to have kind of a deeper dive into these projects and come back with a better explanation as to how we meet that but-for test for those additional projects. And does that sound okay?
Yeah, Matt, I think those park improvements, those make a lot of sense. It's a neighborhood park and that's definitely within the neighborhood. I guess I'd like to know a little bit more about the purple lines. Are those just street improvements? Are they sanitary improvements? Are they water line improvements? What are they?
Sounds good.
Yeah, as it stands right now, those are all street paving
Okay. Yeah, a bridge replacement. I saw, was there a bridge replacement in there?
Yep, that's on the west side. If you go back to that slide, it was
Is that the Henry Street?
Henry Street,
yeah.
Beard Creek.
Yeah. Yep, I can see a project like that definitely working. Yep, trail improvements.
I think I can see if we are looking at a neighborhood that is significantly smaller lot sizes, higher density, the value of park nearby becomes, you know, more significant if that's a component that is going to make it viable for people to buy these homes.
We can come back to the next meeting with some additional details for you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I would take a motion to receive and place on file for this meeting.
I'll move to receive and place on file.
I'll second.
Motion by Adam, second by Dan, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes. 190 informational, tax incremental district 12 to 12, the I-43 industrial park. Affordable housing extension.
Yeah, so I'll take this one. What we have before you today, as Diana said, is a affordable housing extension. The reason that it's under informational is because we're not asking the DRB to take action. By statute, it would have to go through council, but we're just wanting to make you all aware that this is what we're requesting of both RDA today and then council on the 19th. The TID 12, the I-43 industrial park, is a 20-year industrial TID that was created on September 6, 2005, set to terminate September 6th of 2025. Wisconsin statute does, however, permit the city to extend the life of the TID up to 1 additional year, so long as those incremental property taxes from that additional year are used to improve the housing stock within the city. In particular, at least 75% of those property taxes to go toward affordable housing projects, with affordable housing being defined as no more than 30% of the gross monthly income of a household. So as proposed, the extension would extend the life of TID 12 for 12 months from the date of adoption of the municipal resolution. So this will be going before council on the 19th. So again, it would then extend for the 12 months set to extend to August 18th, 2026. Then in that case, with that additional increment from that final year, which would be collected in January of 2027, based on the 2026 tax roll, would be transferred into the tax increment district affordable housing fund, otherwise known as TDA, and that would be used to improve and increase the housing stock in the city. The extension would generate 3.4 million that would be transferred into that TDA fund. I guess with that, I will take any questions.
That money can be used citywide, correct? It doesn't have to be spent within the TIF district.
Correct. Hearing none, then we can move on.
This information, do I still take a motion on it? No, okay. Okay, next item is then we're gonna set the next, talk about the next meeting date to be considered for the tax increment district number 32. As Harry from Elders has mentioned, should be working in toward early October. You want to set that now, or do you want to send out you prefer the emails with a couple dates to pick from, or do you want to try to pick a date now?
Oftentimes, we've been doing it the same day as RDA, which in this case would be October 14th. But it doesn't have to be that. Another date.
Yes, that's a good question for Dan and Adam at this point, is October 14th, around 10, 11 in the morning, does that appear to work for you?
October, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, the 14th is going to be a tough day for me. I've got what looks to be kind of an all day or late morning into afternoon thing going on.
what about the Monday, what about the day before, what about Monday? Is that any better?
Day before is Columbus Day, but yeah, that's fine. I got to work that day.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we work.
So that was funny.
So for now, let's set the next date at October 14th,
15th, 13th.
13th.
13th, 13th.
All right, and then I guess we're on adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right, we have a motion by Dan, second by Adam, all in favor?
aye.
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 We are adjourned, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.